if I'm thinking about a show, I really want to think about what effect is that show going to have on the people in the audience, and I want to serve them. I really want them to leave that experience feeling like not only did they spend their money well or their time was spent well, but that they got something out of that will last for them.
Welcome to Mosaic Minds. My name is Nick, and to my right here is Jason, and today we are joined by Salvadore Liberto. Did I say that correctly?
That's right.
All
Got
right.
it right on.
Cool,
First
cool.
try.
Awesome. So all I know, I got to tell you, I got to be honest, I tried to do a little bit of research, but we had 4 people scheduled tonight, so I was a little short on time, but all I know is what Jason's told me, and he tells me that you do not only Elton John covers, but that you kind of take on the muse of Elton John. Is that a correct statement?
That's pretty generous. Yeah, I do. I write my own music as well. So so my show is Elton and Me, it's called.
Okay.
And so I do Elton songs and I do my songs. One thing that's kind of interesting in the whole Elton impersonator milieu is if you listen to Elton impersonators, they rarely sound like Elton. And I don't know that I sound like him. I do think my natural voice is fairly close to maybe his like middle-aged voice, right? So like if you listen to him when he was really young, 26, 27, I don't think I'm quite that. Maybe I'm like early 40s Elton. But I think my natural voice sounds a lot like Elton's. So it feels like an impersonation. So that's where that vibe comes from. I don't know.
I enjoyed it. That's why I came across it, because we're looking for
thanks, Jason.
The mosaic kind of comes out in this interview, so I'm excited because what would be maybe a couple songs that are influential for you?
Oh yeah, so I mean certainly. I mean, we talk about Elton. I'm gonna have my piano right here. So, Tiny Dancer. It's like Blue Jean Baby, LA Lady. So certainly that is huge for me. And then he's got a song called Daniel, which everybody knows. And then another influence of mine, though, and I think like if you were listening to my songs, you'd hear it, is George Winston. So George Winston, he actually just recently passed away, sadly, but such a great piano player and can really play in so many different styles, but sort of invented what people call New Age piano, or he called folk piano, but just really this very beautiful and melodic piano. He does a version of Pachelbel's Canon, which is really quite pretty. It's like just a really great piano player.
That's cool.
So I'd say his stuff for sure, absolutely. And I like that I'm gonna ask you guys a question.
Yeah.
I love this mosaic concept, and I love the concept of mosaics in general, where we take these disparate pieces and we put them together, and then we have a broader vision from these smaller parts. So I was going to ask you guys where you felt like that came from, and what does it mean to have a mosaic mind? That was really interesting to me.
That's so awesome that you asked that. So I'm going to defer to Nick, let him answer that, and then I'd like to be able to answer that, because it's rare that we could ask questions, right, Nick?
Yeah, no, I love
that.
Yeah,
I don't mean to hijack.
No, I want you to. This is your show, man. take it any way you want, but I'm going to have Nick answer that first.
Yeah, so the whole podcast thing was something that I'd wanted to do for a long time, and I know that Jason had as well, because he's got a degree in broadcasting, and that's kind of his background. And so we kind of talked about it, just throwing it around here and there, and then we just decided that we were going to do it. And so I wanted it to be something that we could have different opinions, respectful opinions, and different views, different backgrounds, things like that, not only as guests, but also as the hosts. So we started with three of us. It was me and Jason, and then there was a female that was a part of it, and unfortunately she ended up not being able to see it through. But all three of us, very different backgrounds, different looks, different interests, things like that. So that's kind of what we wanted to do. But then, once we started it, I started talking to Jason about, we started to think a little bit more on the business side of things about, well, if we're going to make this big, we really need to niche down and all this. And Jason kept telling me, he's like, I don't think so. I don't think we do. I think that we should keep it where it's just a variety of people. And, turns out he was right. And I really do like the fact that we can have absolutely anybody on, any kind of topic, and just, go from there. So,
react to that real fast.
Yeah, go ahead.
So two things. One is, I really like this concept of this kind of a diversity of thought. And I think that's the only thing that's going to help our country right now,
yes.
By the way.
Amen. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Having a few good ideas from well-intentioned people, nothing wrong with that, right?
That's right.
And I really like, so the other thing that you've done here, which is really cool, is you fought the trend against specialization. Mm-hmm. And I think, man, we're whole people, and a lot of our interests in life, we find they integrate. So why do we have to be like, okay, this is my little channel, I'm going to stay in it? I don't know that I can experience life that way, and that seems to me that's not the Mosaic
right.
life. So there you go.
Absolutely. So as far as the actual name, I'm going to be perfectly honest. It came from me brainstorming with my buddy ChatGPT.
There you go.
So I was just like, okay, so I'm looking for a title that can incorporate all kinds of different opinions, this and that. So it would give me stuff, and I'm like, nope, that's not good enough. Because you can kind of you can talk shit to ChatGPT and they don't care. So so I'm like, nope, not good enough. So finally came back with the Mosaic thing, and I'm like, oh, I love that. Mosaic Minds. That sounds really cool. So that's
that's the premium status on JetBlue. So people love that too. So there's a nice kind of high end brand there as well. So
mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think the way that I'm going to answer it, the way that I see it is, I liken it to a church or a cathedral when you walk in and there's stained glass.
Beautiful.
I think beautiful light comes through there.
Yeah.
It really pops. With the thing that I'm excited about, and I'm not afraid to say this to yourself and Nick, is if you want to know the truth about it, I'm jealous of the talent that I just saw you display.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh, wow.
I can't be further away from being able to pick up Nick's guitar, because you don't want to hear my guitar playing, nor am I really willing to learn, quite frankly, because in the sports world, to be honest with you, all I got to do is put my feet in the same place, have the same release point. If I do it 5,000 times, I can do it with my eyes closed. I know you're similar to that in music, but I just want you to know that it's so awesome to talk with an NBA ball player one week, talk with a musician one week. And the reason that I think you're on is you're not like a lot of people that I see. You're unique. You're yourself. You have fun with it. You came alive as you were playing those three songs. So that's an ultimate compliment to you. And I just, it's very interesting to see.
Well, thanks for saying that.
Sal, would you say that hearing Jason's voice, though, I guarantee he'll say that he can't sing, but wouldn't you bet that he would make a good bass singer? He could do some good bass backup with that voice.
Yeah, that vocal was fairly musical, I thought. So,
yeah, right.
Back in the day, I was known to sing some metal, some Metallica, some some stuff like that. So, but I do appreciate it. So let me ask you this: when you're spending your time, and let's say you're composing your own, or let's say you're working on a cover for the umpteenth time, how does a song capture your captivity to where I'm going to put my energy into that specific song and not go to other specific songs?
That's really interesting. Let me react to something you said a second ago, which about like coming alive and authenticity. I heard on maybe it was a reel I caught on Facebook. I'm like, man, I think that's 100% true, which was that authenticity is one of the most powerful forces in the universe, and that when someone is authentically themselves, and this is true of all of us, we have more power. And so, yeah, I mean, I think in terms of everything I do in my life that's sort of on the professional side, there's nothing to me more authentic than expressing myself musically. But you also have to practice. So sometimes it's like, I'm definitely gonna work on things that are just gonna sound better, and then you sit there and there's a technical aspect you have to work on to get the song down and have it sound right. So that maybe you'll record it and listen to it. And I think as long as I can lock into flow, and flow is really just that ability to concentrate and feel joy while you're doing that. I'm lucky. It's very easy for me to concentrate when I'm enjoying something. It's very easy for me to concentrate in general. I don't think a lot of people have that gift. And so I'm fortunate to have that. So I think that's intuitively true. There's another element too, though, which is if I'm thinking about a show, I really want to think about what effect is that show going to have on the people in the audience, and I want to serve them. I really want them to leave that experience feeling like not only did they spend their money well or their time was spent well, but that they got something out of that will last for them.
Yes. See, that, in my opinion, that is what makes a person with good energy is somebody that wants to leave someone better off than they were just for having met them or having listened to their music or whatever, and I'll let you finish your thought. But after that, I even though we kind of did it out of order, I want you to, if you could, I want you to just go back and kind of tell us a little bit about your background and where you're from and that kind of thing. But go ahead and finish your thought.
I was just going to say, I think there's an element of service in the way that I write and conceive, and like I really want to deliver that gift to people and inspire them. So like I wrote this song. I'll play just a lick for you. I'll play from the chorus to the 50 seconds or so. But this song, I'd say it more or less came to me, and then I sort of fleshed it out. But the concept of it was really just to try to heal and help. And so it goes like this. I don't care if you're young or old, and I don't care if you're fast or slow. You still have a calling. Your heart doesn't beat in vain. It doesn't matter if your life's been tough or if you have given up. As long as there's tomorrow, we can find a better way. So here we go. Now's the time. Don't be scared to lay it on the line. Pour it out. All the while, go and set the world, set it on fire. So,
love that.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter what's happened to you or where you are. You can improve your life. You can do something that's going to bring you joy, that's going to bring somebody else joy. You can take a trip. You can call a friend. You can paint a painting. You can do a podcast. You can. And when I wrote that song, I was like, man, this feels great because I can perform this, and then people can respond to it and sort of visualize for themselves what does this song mean to them, and how can they use it. Your heart doesn't beat in vain, which is an obvious statement, but sometimes we need to be reminded we've got something to contribute.
So I think you're speaking the Mosaic language, and the reason I say
there we
that
go.
is because, to be honest with you, I'm not afraid to tell you this because you can't study a person too much online, but I thought we were talking to a person that was very musically inclined, very musically talented, had a specific artist that he liked. You're very inspirational and you're very positive, so I would listen to you in a group of 50 aspiring musicians at a 101 or 201 level music institution, believe it or not. So
wow. Nice.
I think when life is all about positivity and waking up in the morning and just throwing your shoulders back and saying, "Hey, today's the day I'm going to make someone else's life," that transcends past music, and it helps and inspires others to see that, hey, it is going to be a good day. It is going to be positive. The sun's rising today. You know, we're going to have a great day regardless of weather or attitude or anything else.
You know what's funny is it seems like even though we said that with the Mosaic, it's, you know, different kinds of opinions and all that, it seems like we have kind of a general theme, if you've noticed, between most of our previous guests of the whole, like you were saying, authenticity and service. You know what I mean? And giving back. Like that seems to be a kind of a theme that goes along with no matter what the topic is. Have you noticed that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're all three winners, and I think it's easy to be a person that's listening to this and saying, hey, that music kind of juiced me up a little bit. Hey, that was unique. That rendition was this. When you look at future projects, where's your heart and mind in that for future projects, or maybe giving back to your local community at large?
Yeah, good question. I think let me jump on the truth comment, or the comment about services. I think at that higher level of thinking, you are going to be inclined to serve others. You know, here's how I'll frame this: the universal mind doesn't really distinguish among people. So I think when you help others, you tend to help yourself, and I don't think you do it to help yourself. But isn't that the ancillary benefit? Like if you do something nice for, I just gave someone a tip who helped me with some sound and he shot some videos for me. I'm able to post it on my Facebook page. He did such a good job. I paid him a few dollars in the moment, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give this guy some more money because he did such a good job for me. And you know, I felt so great with that generosity. Mm-hmm. So I think that kind of spirit and that kind of energy is really important to have. And you know, I'm not super young anymore, so I wasn't like 22 and had this realization. It probably came a little later in life, but it's like that's what life's about. You know, that kind of connection and having a service orientation. And so that's going to continue in all the music I do. I do a lot of shows for free. I play some libraries where I don't, no one pays me anything. And I'm fortunate in a position in my life where I can do that. So I'll answer the question about my background, all that. So I grew up in New Orleans. So nice. When you grow up in New Orleans, you got to be like, you got to get the piano down. Like I'm a piano player first. I'm a singer second, and maybe an Elton John aficionado third. And maybe a songwriter third, and a songwriter second, a singer third, Elton John aficionado fourth. So when you grow up in New Orleans, the music has to be tight. So that's where that comes from. And then I went to college in Boston, which had its own set of influences. And then in terms of a career, I do work in higher education in addition to my work in music. So I've worked as a college administrator and admissions enrollment.
Did you know that, Jason?
You're admissions enrollment? So am I. That's my position.
Yeah, and I'm financial aid.
Yeah, and in aviation school.
Oh, you guys have got to be kidding me.
He's financial aid. So in other words, I enroll him, and then I separate that, and then he takes the baton from there and gets him in school.
That's crazy.
And then we both want to see him succeed.
And you know what's weird is I tried to look you up this afternoon,
and
I found you on LinkedIn, but I didn't think it was you. I kept looking for maybe like a little blurb about music or something. And I didn't find anything.
So my parents made a mistake when they named me, which is to add an E at the end of my first name, which is more of a Spanish spelling of my name, not a Sicilian or Italian spelling. Well, anyway, so no one has my name.
So Sal, I got two stories for you. Number one, everybody misspells my name, and we'll go into that later. But I've seen.
Well, I could see why. I could see that.
And just to let you know, I'm not Nick. I'm not related to Dwight Yoakam because it's spelled differently.
Right.
Just putting that rumor out there. And then the funny story that I want to give you, Sal, away from music and life is one of my wife's friends is a teacher in an area, and they named a child Astachio. And at the first teachers conference, great name, and the parent basically said, the reason I named my daughter this is because I like the nuts that you buy in the grocery store.
Oh, wow.
So I had to make you laugh.
That's-
I said there would be humor, but that's a true story. So all I'm trying to tell you is although you like the name Mustachio, we both know that it's actually a pistachio.
That's like that tattoo that you see in memes where people get the tattoo that says no regrets.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Hey, so I'm gonna throw
Right.
I'm gonna throw you a curveball because I like to do this, but you're gonna be able to handle it. I think I can do this. One of Elton's earlier albums, I can't tell you that I'm like a fanatic, but I can tell you I appreciate his music. It's a white album. He's got bright sunglasses on, and it's almost like he's looking back at it, and there's a lot of green and gold on that album. Does that explain the album well enough to where you know what I'm talking about?
Is that Goodbye Yellow Brick Road?
I believe that it is.
Yeah, I think so.
Play a
He's kind of looking back.
Play a random song kind of from that era, maybe just a little snippet for us,
Ooh,
just to
pressure's
kind of
on.
the pressure's on a little bit. So from that random era, you could probably do that in your sleep.
Yeah. When are you gonna come down? When are you going to land? Should have stayed on the farm. Should have listened to my old man. Now you get old forever. Didn't sign up with you. Not a present for your friends too old. This boy's too young to be singing the blues. There you go. Yeah, you know that one. And then on that same record is this song. Goodbye, Norma Jean.
Yeah, there you
I
go.
never knew you at all. Have the grace to hold yourself. Those around you grow. Yeah, that's a good song. That was my dad's favorite.
So that one there, Sal, was
Big
the
fan
first
of-
time that I saw you on Facebook as I'm doing the
Oh,
research.
yeah, because
And
I
you
had
have-
my glasses
You
on.
have the diamond or the
glasses on.
studded, I don't know what to call them, but cool looking glasses. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah,
So,
right.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, very good.
Hey, so let me ask you this. Being an admissions person,
Yeah.
you passed with flying colors because I put you on the spot a little bit. I'm not surprised you passed with flying colors, but you were very passionate about what I call an ad lib. You weren't maybe expecting that question and you had to react. Are you an ad lib or are you a real prepared person maybe when you do that? In other words, if somebody in the crowd throws out a random song, are you happy about that or would you rather be very prepared with the script and know exactly what songs you're going to play throughout the presentation?
So it depends on the setting, I suppose. So if I were playing in a more relaxed setting, that wouldn't bother me at all. I did a show last summer. Early summer, I guess. And I sat down, and Taylor Swift was, the hottest thing since sliced bread. She still is. And I'm like, it was the crowd. It was a pretty good sized crowd. So I'm like, just so you guys know, this isn't a Taylor Swift concert. And I don't know that was a perfect joke or not, but it broke up the ice a little bit. And someone shouts out, "Do you take requests?" And then
Free bird.
Right. So this was a, you pay for this, and it's supposed to be this sort of a little more serene kind of setting, and you take requests, and then the person goes, "Oops, I did it again," thinking that they were making a Taylor Swift joke when they were making a Britney Spears joke. And I didn't know how to react to that because that surprised me. So I think I talk a lot about the Myers-Briggs as a personality implement, right? As a good kind of measurement as to how. So on the Myers-Briggs, there's the J and the P, right? So the J is the person who's judging, likes a lot of structure. The P is the person who's spontaneous and will change their plans quickly, etc. I fall right in the middle of those two.
Nice.
A little
I
closer,
can see that.
a little closer to the J.
Yep.
Because I'm always at the airport 4 hours early, so.
Oh man, I'm P all the way, man.
Yep.
P to the max.
in financial aid. Now that's an
know.
unusual combination.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's what I attribute to the success that I've had in financial aid and why I'm able to get along with admissions. No offense to your financial aid people, but I know that at a lot of schools that is not the case.
Yeah, for sure.
Nick and I did this originally in my opinion, he may say differently. I did this as an additional set of camaraderie with him because I look at it like he's my right hand. You know, my students are not going to get the service that they deserve, in my opinion, if I don't have camaraderie with Nick. So being on
you
that
have to
team,
have that. Yeah,
it's a warm handoff. The funny Freebird story that I have, Sal, that I want you to hear real quick is I went to a French festival with my uncle. And there's about 500 people, and this band was doing great. And my uncle had a few adult beverages, right? He's peppered. So they're asking for people to suggest, and everybody was shy. So I finally kept nudging him in the ribs, and I said, Freebird, Leonard Skinner. So he stands up, Freebird, Leonard Skinner, and I never will forget the reaction. I'm going to get a little vocal with you. It's going to be a sharp word. But the guy literally pauses about 15 seconds, grabs the mic, and here's what he said. There's always got to be some dumbass in the crowd.
Yeah, there's always one a-hole
that has the Skinner. So anyway, to this day, my uncle makes fun of me that I forced him into saying that and vice versa. So that was a great memory. So hey,
where was that again?
That was at a French festival in downtown Indianapolis. It was a street festival, and there was like 500 people. We were just eating French food and listening to random rock. So
unreal.
The request had nothing to do with the band, if that makes sense. By the way, it wasn't that era or anything. So
one of my influences, a guy named Keith Jarrett, who was wound. Unfortunately, he had a stroke, so doesn't play anymore. But he was wound so tight that like he would go out, and there's actually footage of this. People would be taking pictures of him, and he would stop the concert because people were taking pictures of him at an outdoor venue. So,
wow.
So, like, that's the other extreme, right?
Was this guy, was he a big name or a bigger name?
Keith Jarrett was very big name in the jazz piano world, and you know, is famously known for just sitting down and presumably improvising entire concerts. And and there's some stuff from the early 70s that people, I guess, get high to still. But anyway, it was you could if you look up Keith Jarrett, and a lot of his stuff is on YouTube and Spotify and stuff.
So kind of random, but you'll appreciate this. There's a famous stage. I'm not going to call it the Grand Ole Opry, but I believe there's a famous stage or two in Nashville. In fact, I know there is. What's interesting is I spec'd on a violin of all things and had it perfected by a lutherie that would normally put his hands on guitars to perfect them. He perfected this violin, got the grain looking phenomenal. It had a leaf on it, and believe it or not, that violin is being played by extremely high-end people in front of tens of thousands of people, and it's just so cool that I had my hands on that violin for 2 years, and a famous musician's playing it to this day on that stage. That to me is something I want to share with you as my connection to music. So
that's a good win.
So,
I mean,
absolutely.
that's a really good win. I like it.
Do the people at your school, the students and the faculty and the staff, do they know that you're as musically inclined as you are?
Some do, because I'm friends with a few on Facebook.
Okay, all right.
And then, so the nature of my work and enrollment these days is I do interim assignments largely. So actually, if you look me up, if you put in the registry and the Chronicle of Higher Education, you'll see that there's a recent article in which I'm featured about coming in and just being a dean or a vice president and helping places in times of transition. So all that to say, I don't typically stay at places very long.
No,
although where I am now, I've been there a little more than a year and probably stay there another year.
That's pretty cool. I like that. That would
Yeah.
keep some of the monotony that can sometimes come along with education.
I think so. Because I like the novelty. I like the new projects, and I do a lot of turnaround work. Like you call me when things are really, from an enrollment standpoint, where things just haven't been working, and I try to come up with a good solution, and usually do. What I like about the article is it really showcases how much care I provide when I'm working with people. I really try to just be super helpful. Like I try to take the ego out of what I'm doing, and really just try to operate from a service mindset. And,
yeah.
Sometimes that works, and sometimes
it
sometimes they're like, this guy can't possibly be this nice or this effect. He can't be effective. He's too nice. And it's like, well, if that's how you see the world, then maybe this won't work.
Well, you might appreciate this. So are you for profit or like trade school, or are you like traditional?
Oh, it varies, but I've worked almost exclusively for nonprofits. I've worked for one for profit, but most of my work is in a nonprofit thing.
So we just had, and we don't normally have people necessarily in that sector, but our previous guest right before you.
You have me by accident. This is accidentally.
No.
You have me
we just ran over with our last guest, but so she is actually a part of CQ. And which is college. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna go blank now. Career Education Colleges Universities. That's what it stands for. And they kind of lobby for and have the back of some of the trade and for-profit schools because they're so looked down upon by especially.
They're having a rough time. Yeah, they're having a rough time.
Yeah, so we had her on, and then the week before we had the president of CQ. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting that we don't normally do that. And we had them, and then. Here you are, Sal. Just poof, Here
we go. It's all coming together.
It's all coming together.
Sal, I got to go back to music, man. I'm gonna toss one out.
Oh yeah,
you, right.
Yeah,
Being an ad lib guy, I'm gonna do as best I can. Okay. So,
all right.
So believe it or not, I was given the opportunity or encouraged to have the opportunity to do voiceover work and do some inspirational speaking. I just was scared because I didn't have the backing and or the resources to get started in that career. So I'm giving you the background to give you the question. If I say that the artist that we've mentioned several times throughout this transcended music for 30 to 40 years plus and is still, I'm going to give you the example of the Rolling Stones. I'm going to give you the example of Tom Petty. I believe you could listen to either one of those artists, all three of the artists we just mentioned 20 years from now. And I think that it's almost like that music is still valuable. It's like clothes. It's still a style. It's still in. Answer to me what makes a particular artist like the three that I mentioned maybe make you give one more, if you will, and kind of answer it like, how does that person go decade after decade after decade and still connect with the crowd that's in front of them?
That's great. I think a good song is a good song. So I don't know. I mean, I think there's songs that are 40 and 50 years old that sound great. There's songs that are 200 years old that sound great. I mean, Beethoven people still playing a lot of Beethoven, I've noticed, or Mozart. So I think the structure of a song. So like this. I wrote this. I think that's going to sound fine to somebody in 25 years. That was just an introduction to one of my songs. I wrote this like 35 years ago. There's no dated element to that, but if it I'll go to Motown. The Temptations, like some of the stuff that they do, is timeless because it endures through decades, and or something like songs by like Kool and the Gang. Like there's New Orleans band, there's a timeless element there, and if a song hits a chord, we have a song called like Celebrate Good Times, right? Like that's a timeless sentiment as well, and so. Maybe there's a little bit of the era that you can hear in that song, but songs that endure tend to, carry some message, some timeless element to them. So, you can't get no satisfaction. Mm-hmm. The waiting is the hardest part by Tom Petty. It's a gorgeous sentiment, and because it rings true. And what I said about authenticity, it has a lot of power and staying power.
I think when you said, just real quick, I think when you said 35 years ago when you wrote that, I guess I had this conversation with a wrestler. It's like you go into that arena and you smell the popcorn. You smell the guys that are smoking outside waiting to come into that event. I'm going to leave you with this. Answer to me maybe 35 years ago what was going on in the inspiration and how that continues to inspire you today when you play a similar song. Or the same song.
Yeah, sure. I was about 18, so I mean, I was just getting started writing music then. I think my life has had a lot of interesting twists and turns in it, in terms of some things that have brought me some really severe tragedy. I've lost several siblings, for example, which I've then I've put that into my music. I've written a couple of songs about a couple of my siblings, which has been cathartic. Of course, obviously, I wish the experiences had not occurred as they did, but so I think what music has been for me in many ways is a form of therapy, and an ability to sort of access a pain point. And here's the other thing: we were talking about this a long time ago in our conversation. If I can deliver something to because I've suffered, right, and I know what suffering feels like, and I'm sure you guys have been through your share of suffering as well. If I can put that into music, and that someone can hear that and they can relate to that, and that can help them heal a little bit, then I've done my job.
Yeah.
Like if I'm able to convey to them, hey, I have this line in that song I played for you, Now Is the Time. It goes, let's see, and to know you can grow. I too, I've been lonely and afraid. But what is real? It's how you feel when you find the stars come. Cannot be contained. And so, again, we're going to go through stuff. Hopefully we're going to come out the other side, and we're going to grow from it, and we're going to be able to probably be of more service to others having endured it.
Yeah, well, I mean, music has been known, since the beginning of time to be a state changer, as far as your mood, all that. So if you can put emotion in there with it, and you can resonate with somebody that, like you said, has been through maybe something similar to what you have, then that's going to be a whole lot more powerful. And I think there's still a lot of music, a lot of great music that's new. But one thing I think that a lot of music lacks now are lyrics when it comes to the emotion, what you were talking about, the emotion and that kind of thing. I mean, some of them are just random words, may have a great beat, but it's just random words. But I mean, even in the, I'm a 90s kid, I was born in 1980. So I grew up teenager in the 90s. So, I listened to a lot of, alt rock and, but I still love 70s and that kind of thing. But songs then, even hip hop, they could relate, or they were talking about the hardships in their life and things that happen. And now, I don't care what genre the music is, the majority of it seems like is so candy. You know what I mean? It's
the 90s is a golden age for songwriting.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
The 90s is you think about REM.
Yes.
Outkast.
Yes.
So many just tremendous, so much great talent in the 90s.
I mean, even music you can't necessarily relate to, like maybe I've obviously can't relate to, well, I say obviously, I guess you don't know me, but I can't relate to, growing up in the streets and seeing my friends shot down in the street and all that. But I can feel that emotion when I hear something, that where they're talking about their background and their past, but you just don't, it seems so silly, a lot of it now.
I think
that's right.
Go ahead.
Yep.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think the thing I'd add to that sentiment, which is really well thought out, I think, is I think also auto-tune has really screwed up music. And I don't believe in auto-tune. I don't think people should do. First of all, how do you know who can sing and not?
Right.
And then I think there's an imperfection in the human voice that I actually want to hear. If I'm going to a live show, for example, I want to hear someone just miss a note, and because maybe there's an emotion that they're trying to convey from that. So or just, it's nice to know that people are imperfect. So, I don't like it in recorded music either. So I don't like auto-tune. I don't think that's helped music. Not to sound like some old guy, but
no.
I think at some point there's going to be a nice pushback on auto-tune, and we'll have more authentic sounding vocals again.
Well, if you look back at some of the singers from especially like the 60s and the 70s, they did not have necessarily classically perfect voices, they maybe had a great range, and they obviously had a great, they had a great style, which is why they're awesome. But I mean, they didn't necessarily they couldn't do runs all over the place, like some of the modern music, like I'm trying to picture someone like Neil Young, going, you know what I mean?
But there are some great singers. Ariana Grande is a great singer.
Yeah, and even Taylor Swift. You're talking about Taylor Swift. I'm not a fan necessarily, but you have to respect the girl. She writes her own music. She's been doing it since she was 15.
Her live shows have gotten better. If you listen to like her tonality, 6-7 years ago, very different than now, which is fine. Like if you listen to Elton in '74, let's say, listen to any of his concerts in '74, he sounds terrible compared to how he sounded by the end of the '70s. So. I think it's good to grow as a professional.
I think the era that it's a common that everybody's heard of, and I don't want to be cliche, but if I could go back to any era, it'd be the Woodstock era. Not just to say the word Woodstock, really. Like I think I would agree with Nick. Like I think one could debate that. I don't know that Janis Joplin had a great voice, but Janis Joplin had an unbelievable voice, in my opinion. Because, in my opinion, there'll never be anybody to ever sound like that again. Because she had her unique niche within it. I've spent a lot of time watching the videos and just the fascination, like watching the Grateful Dead behind the scenes that the crowd didn't see. Stuff like that is just fascinating to me. And my first concert was with Dad with 45,000 screaming fans in the Beach Boys. So
oh, nice.
You're younger, you don't have a musical influence, and they roll out there on the AstroTurf after a Reds baseball game. It's this has been a blessing to me because not only do we have a lot of commonalities, not only do you have multiple layers of your game, because I thought we were talking all music. This right here was like, yeah, music was definitely a huge influence to it, but we saw multiple layers of what makes you a good person. And quite frankly, like he was saying, your philanthropic heart, you're doing better for others. You're doing charity work or whatnot at the libraries and stuff to get people to feel good, because if a few people come up to you and smile, or I haven't laughed that hard, or that was great to hear that music, man, you just can't put a dollar sign on that. It's more of an emotion that person walks out to the car with.
No, it's the greatest feeling, I think. Yeah, you're spot on. It's a great feeling. So when am I coming to Indianapolis? You guys are in Indianapolis?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, like what's like a nice 300-seat performing arts center I should be targeting for a show? Well, I mean, my favorite venue is it's right next to our zoo, and it's at the White River State Park, and I can't remember what they call it now, because banks and oil companies and all that buy them up and stuff and change the names. So I don't know what it's called right now, but it's a little amphitheater at the White River State Park. I was just there for a concert about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
I'm typing this into my document in the Google Drive.
Yeah,
here
White River.
White
Great. River State Park Amphitheater, and then it should come up. And when you say it, I'll know it, but I can't think of what they're calling it now.
Sal, I'm going to be bold with you. I live in Plainfield, Indiana. We just literally minted. I'm a town resident. A 600-seat venue that's brand new. I mean, if there wasn't a better, for a town of our size, modern, I can't say enough about it. If you do a little research, it'll pull it right up. Plainfield, Indiana has a new civic center, is what I'm going to call it, fine arts center, whatever. I've even got a little bit of connection there, so I'm not saying I can get you booked, but I'm saying I'm confident with getting you in front of the people that are booking for that venue.
You did say small, didn't you? You said, and I gave you like the one I mentioned isn't small, but there's one up on the north side, which is kind of like the more ritzy part of town, and it's what's it called? Something Performing Arts. I believe it's in Fishers, Indiana. It's like, is it just Hamilton Performing? I don't know.
We'll do a little research off record, and we'll leave you with 5 venues within 30 miles of us, and we've already given you 2 or 3.
Awesome.
So you're owed to one or 2 more.
Well, so sometimes what I do, believe it or not, is I rent a venue, and then, if hopefully I sell enough tickets to at least break even. If I don't do that, I don't care.
You're a game changer there. I don't want to step out of bounds, but I would be surprised if we can't find. Well, Rich Dow would be a perfect connection for him.
Yeah, Neil.
So Neil would be perfect. We got a guy that does venue booking for comedy, but at the same time, it wouldn't necessarily tie in. But music and comedy to me makes sense. We could pitch it to him, and worst he can do is say no, right? But best case scenario, we get you some contacts. So
Yeah, love to come out and see you guys and
that'd be
treat you to
great.
dinner.
Where do you live?
I live just north of Boston.
Okay, so you're still out on the East Coast. Okay.
You should come to Fenway, of course. Let's go to Fenway.
He said it, and I didn't even say it. If my dream is to set on top of the Green Monster. I know those are expensive, but just getting into Fenway. I've been to Wrigley, and Fenway's just as legendary. So
we got too much in common, gentlemen. Let's see if we can make something happen here.
Let's do it.
And, like first two big lessons from my tragedies that I've had. Life is really short, so just enjoy yourself. And then I live on the East Coast, so I mean it's easy to get to anywhere, right? From Boston, it's a hub, So
I'm gonna be Velveeta for a minute, Sal. I'm gonna be a little cheesy with you, okay?
Oh my.
All right.
So here's what I'm gonna tell you, man. It's rare that I say this. I haven't said it on one episode, and I believe it on all episodes. I just haven't verbalized it. But I'm going to say, don't take this lightly. I use the word friend with you after 45 minutes.
Oh, I appreciate that.
I truly feel that you have a good heart, you have a good mind, music's your thing. We work in admissions, so don't take that lightly. If you're ever in Indianapolis, if we're ever out on the East Coast, hopefully with cross paths, keep doing great things in admissions because that's an armor that we wear to change lives and to help people. And also the musical side, you can't put a dollar figure on that. You don't know if those people have gone through rough times. You don't know if those people have been to thousands of concerts, but what I will tell you is they leave there changed. Everybody's going to feel good about that. So I'm going to let Nick kind of take us out here just to give kind of the intro and give you the ability to put yourself out there in front of some new folks there.
Take us out. So you want me to sing?
No,
and it seemed okay. So
like a candle in the wind.
There we go. It's a harmony. That's nice.
There you go.
So you do definitely have that friend energy for sure. I'm sure that you have.
Well, thanks, guys.
Anybody you get around, I'm sure you're great at admissions because I'm sure that anybody you get around can pick up on that. But where can we find you, Sal? Like if you want somebody to find your music, just hit you up to say hi. Like where do you want us to? What social media platforms are you on?
Two good platforms right now. I'm on YouTube, and you just search Salvadore Salvadore.
Okay.
Liberto, Liberto, and you'll find my channel. And then same on Facebook, Salvadore Liberto -musician. And you'll find me. And gentlemen, it's a pleasure to talk to you. And I feel the same way about you guys. Feel like we're friends already. And look forward to future conversations and bouncing more ideas off of each other.
Sounds good to me. And if you ever do come to Indy to perform, let us know so we can try to promote the shit out of it, okay?
I would love to come to Indy, and I've actually it's been on my mind, on my radar. I always really enjoy being in the Midwest. I've spent a ton of time in Chicago, and believe it or not, first time I stepped in the Midwest, I went to debate camp in Iowa. So
a debater. Nice. Okay.
I love the Midwest.
So Sal, you got to watch my quotes here. You're debating to come to Indianapolis then, right?
I don't know about that. I don't know if it's a debate. I don't know that it's a debate.
Well, I don't want to argue about it. I know you want to come here, right? We're debating.
I'll tell you this, and I know it may seem like we're biased, but I can tell you as a kid, I could not wait to get out of Indiana and Indianapolis. As an adult, it is a very underrated city. There's a lot of awesome things to do. I mean, there really is. Good restaurants, good music, all of it.
Hey, man, it always stands Pacers game, Colts game.
Some
good concert venues, some good Italian.
We'll see how Richardson looks this year for you guys. Hopefully, he'll do well for you. And absolutely, good stuff.
All right, man. Well, hey, thanks again, and we'll be in touch. Okay.
Look forward to talking to you again, guys. Thank you.